Park Chan-wook is often encountered through Oldboy or the Vengeance Trilogy, but those films sit within a much broader and more varied body at work. Looking at Oldboy, The Handmaiden, and Decision to Leave together, let's talk about how Park Chan-wook's cinema shifts across genres, tones, and modes of address. Right after the intro music. You're listening to Second Cut. This is the independent podcast where we talk about topics in film, theory, criticism, and history. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one whose beard looks like it's on the way to being trapped in a prison for 15 years.
I'm Sam, and I'm the one who buys expensive sushi to feed to murder suspects.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one who wants to live in a big house like this one, which has kind of loads of, varied styles. There's stuff I could say for this intro, but it is, considering the content, like, the funny bits would get dodgy as well, so I'm not going to. That's all I get.
Yeah, the funny bits get dodgy does describe a lot of these films. They're not funny. Gosh, they're just very, very dark.
Yes.
It's something that comes across straight away with a lot of Korean kind of directors. I think that kind of treading the fine line between disparate kind of tones. You know, it can be as dark as anything, but there's always a sense of kind of gallows humour or slightly twisted kind of air about things going on.
Yeah. So we're talking about Park Chan-wook, and we're looking at a pretty wide span of his career too, from 2003 to 2022. But this week, No Other Choice, his black comedy thriller film is coming out. So that's one I'm now much more excited to go see. Sorry, it came out last Friday.
Yeah, it is. I went and saw it on release day. It is very good and very funny.
The premise sounds quite kind of kind hearts and coronets, it's just people. So it's someone bumping off a lot of people for personal gain, basically, but being a bit incompetent about it.
Yeah, and somehow it it was not selected for the Oscars coming up this year. Somehow, so that means somehow Park Chan-wook has got another film out and it hasn't been selected.
Yeah,
even for adapted screenplay.
And the exact same thing happened for Decision to Leave a few years ago as well. Korea kind of shortlisted it to submit it, but it didn't reach the final list of nominees.
It got nominated for the Golden Globes for musical or comedy, foreign language film, and Best Actor musical or comedy. So Lee Byung-hun just goes straight into the Best Actor category, which is rare for essentially a just straight Korean film. This doesn't happen to just you'd normally get international feature, but just going straight into the acting category is just absurd. So well done for that, and it is very good. But the Oscars being the Oscars. It got shortlisted, but didn't make it through. But Lee Byung-hun is very good. You'll probably know him from Squid Games, if nothing else. He's the main bad guy from Squid Games, but he's very good in this. Very quickly. No, before we move on to this, because I saw his interview on The Daily Show last week before. I watched it before coming on. Apparently, he tried to get this movie made in the US for about 15 years. Because it's based on a US novel, and it didn't happen to go through. He goes, apparently Sony might have rejected it, and Ryan Chan's like, who rejects Park Chan-wook? At this point, how do you turn that guy down? It's just Sony. So, yeah.
Well, when it comes to Park Chan-wook, I mean, I first found him at some point in the mid-2000s while looking for messed up horror movies, because what's a movie that's going to pop up on extreme, sort of, maybe not necessarily horror for it, but Oldboy. So I learned about the Vengeance Trilogy. I watched the first one and I was like, okay, because I'm a teenager. I watched the second one, Oldboy, and I was like, okay, this is better. I don't remember watching the third one, and pretty much haven't revisited any of his movies until this week. So you guys are going to be doing a lot of the Park Chan-wook heavy lifting.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was similar. I think Oldboy would have been the first one I saw, and then I went back probably much later and watched the other two in the Vengeance trilogy. But you know, in addition to that, you know, saw a few of his others. So, you know, his Hollywood debut, Stoker, saw that. I've seen his weird, probably the only straight comedy he's done, which is I'm an Android, but that's okay, which is. Set in, I mean, it doesn't sound funny when you describe it. It's set in a mental hospital, basically. All these patients have different kind of, obviously, notions about you know, what they are and you know what's going on with them. And one of them's convinced that she's really a robot, and it keeps you in suspense for quite a while as to whether that's actually true or not. And then there's you know, things like this joint security area, you know, his earlier film about the you know, on the what's the border between the Koreas called again,
the demilitarized zone.
Yeah. But basically, it's
no
around,
man's
you know,
land, essentially.
Yeah. So it's around there. Basically, it's a South Korean soldier and a North Korean soldier, basically spending their days, you know, watching, you know, the enemy side of the border, you know, but kind of striking up a weird kind of unlikely friendship, I suppose how you describe it.
With kind of because that's also aside from these films, I went and watched that one as well. With somehow getting Lee Byung-hun in with Song Kang-ho as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of get sort of two of the big actors that will go on and still to this day are two of the biggest actors in South Korean film right at the beginning.
And Song Kang-ho would again appear in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, the first you know, the first of the Vengeance trilogy, and then again in Thirst, you know, the decade after his really good vampire film. So.
Here's the thing, I have seen Thirst, and I saw it when lockdown happened. I was writing for a kind of Facebook page, kind of horror review page at that point. And I did sort of lockdown horror challenge, and one of them was kind of on each kind of like thing of 5 days, watch a different horror movie from a different continent. And so when I got to Asia, I found Thirst. And from what I remember, I absolutely adored Thirst. It was so good. It's like I can't remember that much about it, but I remember going, "This is godly," in getting it. But yeah, it's also interesting that obviously when you get to Oldboy, so in the first couple of years of his sort of career, you get Choi Min-sik as well. So you've kind of got, realistically, between Song Kang-ho and Choi Min-sik, it's like those are the two big ones, and Lee Byung-hun is kind of becoming like a third.
He's like their successor.
Between them, most of your big heavy hitters, are sort of there.
Yeah, because Lee Byung-hun has obviously, you know, did films with who's the guy you really like, Kieran, the Korean director.
Na Hong-jin?
The one who did the Devil.
Sympathy for the Devil?
No, I know the one.
Him. So sorry, it's not the one you really talk about. Who
not Sympathy for the Devil?
No.
What is that movie called?
It's I Saw the Devil. That's the one.
I Saw the Devil.
And he did that, and he did a couple of films with him as well. I mean, basically, they're like
Kim Ji-woon.
Yeah, thank you, Kim Ji-woon. Yeah, it was basically almost like a successor, you know, to people like I would say Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook sort of have the same sort of, they're contemporaries, really, about the same generation, sort of broke through at a similar time and kind of approach quite similar subject matter at times. Whereas, Kim Ji-woon, I think, is more of an action director and kind of has a different style. But but like as you say, Lee Byung-hun has kind of worked with all of these big players in Korean cinema that's kind of broken through in the West as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, we will when the hopeful release of Hope Na Hongjin's new movie comes out hopefully this summer.
Did we lose Kieran?
I'm not sure.
Am I
It
back?
appears we have. Well,
am I
I'm
good?
unsure of what he was about to say, but back on joint security area, that was actually the biggest grossing Korean film in Korea, the highest grossing film. So I mean I'm sure that's been surpassed by now, because anytime I read that, it would say at the time. So, but that's basically how he became what he is he made a super popular and money making film.
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, with previous episode we talked about Swery, which is considered like the first modern Korean blockbuster. Again, it was like North versus South Korea, kind of political, kind of thriller kind of thing. And then, as you say, Joint Security Area surpassed that at the box office, and then following up on that, a few years later, The Host, from Bong Joon-ho, again broke box office records. So they're kind of like, I think, joshing for like kind of dominance, in the Korean box office and obviously internationally, and they're both broken through, in a big way in the West. We go back to Oldboy. When we first saw that, this was part of the era of, in the UK at least, of Tartan Asia Extreme, which is like the series of like, DVDs of like really dark, twisted Asian horror and martial arts films. This is where a lot of the J-horror stuff, was released under that label. Things like Audition and Ichi the Killer, from Takashi Miike were released under that label, and obviously the Vengeance trilogy as well. So I think when you're a teenager into your films and you're kind of going for some more kind of more extreme, more adventurous, interesting kind of stuff, you kind of, all these films kind of come at you, in quick succession. You think, I've seen this, I wonder if it's like this, and I think you get to, you grow to love them quite quickly.
Yeah.
Am I back? Just checking.
Yes,
you are back.
Okay,
Kieran,
just checking.
What the film before Oldboy, this kind of his significant trilogy is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. That is it, right? I didn't just make that up.
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance,
Okay.
yes.
Making sure I'm
seen
not
that one, so.
conflating what we talked about earlier. Okay, well, Sam, then can you talk a little about Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and the Vengeance trilogy kind of as a whole? Because I know we're only talking about one film, but
Yeah.
it is a significant movement in his career.
Yeah. I mean, they're not a narratively linked trilogy. They all follow different characters and storylines. They do share some actors and crew, but no, they're not like, you're not going to see the same characters popping up and continuing the story for each one. So they're thematically linked, and they're all, as the name implies, vengeance stories. About bad people being killed in horrible ways, usually. I think, Oldboy. Yeah, I mean, I've only seen the first and third films the once. I remember. I think Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance was quite. I would say it's the most polished film in the world. It's kind of down and dirty and a little bit sadistic. And. Just people getting bumped off, basically. As someone main character tries to achieve his revenge. Thinking of like Oldboy, which is definitely more operatic, more heightened and emotional, and really do this really challenging themes, and obviously one of the most infamous film twists in history. And then Lady Vengeance is again, it's more thematically complex, and the characters, I think there's more to them, but it's probably the densest one to get into, really. That one you've kind of really got to kind of pay attention to, and I think it's the most challenging of the three, possibly. Always challenging, but it's also really entertaining as well. So it's like it's sort of a harrowing kind of action, dark comedy thriller, I suppose you'd describe Oldboy.
Yeah. I saw a thing with him. I think it was for Letterboxd, where he was think it was one where he was reading reviews or kind of doing a thing, picking out his shots. Park Chan-wook reading reviews. Turns these kind of like insults into like sage life advice. It's quite funny. But he was saying he kind of almost considers Oldboy a comedy.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's really dark, but it's like, I
definitely
also
not
wanted
funny
you to kind of
Yeah.
black laughing as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Joker. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why it's so ridiculous with the Golden Globes, splitting their nominations between drama and comedy or musical, and basically any film that has a joke in it can be considered a comedy. This year one battle after another was in the comedy category, which it's got funny moments in it. It's entertaining, but it's not a comedy. I'd argue.
I was going to say, if they're going to do
Out of
that,
those
let's
two.
split it all up into every single category possible. Like let's go every subgenre. If it's everything that Wikipedia could possibly label as a subgenre, let's make an award for it at the Globes.
Kieran, I know lately I've noticed you drawing a lot of connections between the different films that we watch. What did you see here that stood out to you as, across these three specific films? These are like themes and ideas, or even just like something silly.
The one thing I did notice kind of like today, looking back when there's a thing again, Park Chan-wook finding shots from them, this films, is that the one thing I remember from Oldboy, which that I loved, that I don't think I'd ever really noticed or seen before, is in the penthouse suite when you get there. The kind of like water river sections, that are there for no reason at all other than fun.
They're there because it looks cool.
Yeah, and thinking I didn't draw it when I was watching Handmaiden a couple of days ago, but then checking it back then, in kind of the main villain's lair, there's sections of the tatami floor that lifts up, and then you get you can put your plants in there. That it does come in at some point. I don't think in Decision to Leave. Well, the water is there, kind of just in the sea in some way. It just seemed weird that in these two of these kind of major sections,
not
the
in the
villain's
floor
lair,
of a house.
Yeah, you've got this watery sections.
Yeah, I mean, he does like putting an octopus in every one of his films. They're all there. That's a more
Or a
basic
squid,
kind of reading. Yeah, so he's a Chong Six character famously eating the live octopus, and the octopus in the sex dungeon in Handmaiden, and then I think there's octopus decorations around some of the domestic settings in Decision to Leave. I think I
didn't see any octopus in No Other Choice, but there is eel. So is that close enough? Cooking eel. It's like, I don't want eel. It's like, well, we spent all time cooking it, so eat the eel.
Some kind of slippery, lengthy sea creature, we can maybe say.
Yeah, I'll say that.
For me, something I noticed in all three of these films that I don't see in a lot is the color purple. Very prominent color.
No, that's a different film by a different director.
Oh, yeah. It made me think of that as well. But I don't see a lot of filmmakers utilizing purple. It's always red, blue, green, yellow. Very standard colors, or orange and
orange
like
and green.
a teal.
If you're Del Toro, every single Del Toro movie,
Yeah. But yeah, using purple in costuming and in lights and all that is something distinct for him from just kind of the average filmmaker. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that use it and utilize it well, but
I think he's probably the director, one of the go-to directors after Kubrick to have usually have a shot of the main character visibly cracking, kind of while looking at the camera. Literally, you can see the point where their sanity splinters, and they're lost. There's no turning back at that point. And I think there's
no other choice.
Yeah, there's usually a point in every one of his films of those, and I think there is no three of these.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I've noticed, so I've watched again 5 of his movies in the past sort of several days, and again, so I've seen the 3 we're going to do. I've seen Joint Security Area, seen No Other Choice, and I have seen Thurston Lady Vengeance, but can't remember much about them. So 7 out of 10, because we do remember the fact that we consider Joint Security Areas first. He did make 2 other movies before that, but he kind of has disowned them essentially. You know?
Yeah. I think they're basically dead on arrival. Don't think they made any money or got any good.
In the same way that we kind of consider Shaun of the Dead Edgar Wright's first movie, you know, even though he made one earlier, you know, it's that kind of level.
Yeah, and Terminator, James Cameron's first movie, because he doesn't consider Piranha 2 his, really.
Yeah, but I mean, the one thing I have noticed across there is, I mean, you know, a lot of these filmmakers and like bring out the spiel. We only get the good filmmakers from other countries because those are what we're exposed to. You know, we don't see the bad ones. And quite often when we're doing stuff on directors that are considered auteur, if you want to use that term, or distinctive or kind of at a height of their craft, sometimes they can go without kind of detriment. It's almost like it's sacrilege to say anything against them. One thing I will say that I don't appreciate with Park Chan-wook is he likes his zooms, and you know me on zooms where 95. I think for the use of a zoom, you should have to go through like a kind of like committee meeting. You know, before you should get like a rating from like censorship board and stuff like that. It has to go through somebody. I think you should have to do that every time you do a zoom of some kind.
I love the Oldboy zoom, and I'm sure there's others, but the one at the end when they're in the penthouse, because it is different from others. You know, we're not just a camera looking at a person. It's a camera shooting into a mirror with two subjects and then zooming into the one in the back. I like that use of it a lot.
Yeah.
He quite often, I think in Handmaiden does it once or twice, where he'll pan around and then zoom in on somebody in the background. I'm like, you can find a better way to do that. It's like, again, you know me, I'm not a fan of zooms, and unfortunately Park Chan-wook does not escape my wrath on zooms.
Kieran loves cuts.
I don't love cuts. I just think zooms are tacky, okay? 95% of the time. Sometimes they can work if they use it just the right way, but
Kieran
95%
hates
of the time...
Hitchcock's dolly zoom.
Even some of those aren't great. And I mean, I praise Hitchcock, but some of his movies are not good.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big fan of recontextualizing the story. I've been watching, in the second half as well. You know, like big 11th hour flashback that kind of, I mean, obviously usually functions as a twist, but generally he likes kind of showing this course of events one way, and then but now I'm going to give you further information, and you're going to completely reconsider what you've seen at the press and who these characters are and what they're up to. Which,
for the film bros, that's called doing a Gone Girl.
And also for that, I saw a post before I watched these movies on Reddit, and it was like, who are directors that are better directors or writers than they are, one or the other? And they proposed Park Chan-wook. They said, he's a better visual artist than a writer. And watching these movies, I don't know how much of the script he wrote, but he's a perfectly fine and engaging writer for me. And most of my failure to fully understand it, I think, comes from the fact that I am not able to understand the language. So whenever they say stuff like, you sound different, why do you sound weird? Or whenever you're speaking Chinese and translating into a phone in Korean, I have to think about the fact that that's what you're doing. There's a lot of nuance lost on me by watching with subtitles. And I don't know. I didn't have any qualms with his writing, just like you're talking about, Sam, the layers and the recontextualization of the story.
Yeah. So he co-wrote screenplays for all three, and two of them are obviously direct adaptations of other source material. Whereas the third is sort of loosely inspired by another work. So So no, I think he's. I don't think he's a very good writer.
Better than Nolan.
Yeah, he's not afraid to make his characters quite detestable, really. I think they're always, even if they've got likable aspects, they're usually, got more negative qualities than positive, I'd say. But, I think having a character be unlikable and kind of full of flaws makes them, more interesting, more compelling. And it kind of makes you question, why am I kind of wanting this person to succeed? Why am I cheering them on when, I would not want to meet them in real life.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I thought when I was watching No Other Choice, again, I haven't got a review of it, this is my review of it. Just listen to this episode, I'll filter it in because it's fresh in my mind and it's the most recent one, is that a lot of the time Lee Byung-hun's character makes ridiculously stupid decisions, absurd decisions. He makes an absolute fool of himself. You know, he is not as a leading person in kind of a crime thriller kind of variant. I think a lot of people, and especially with a big star, would make them, like, in fight scenes, very good at fighting, it be stuff like that. No, the one major fight he gets into in the movie is ridiculously scrappy. It's full of kind of slapping and wrestling and stuff like that. You know, when he's running away, it's not a perfect run, it's kind of flailing and stuff like that. He plays the ordinary man very well, and I think that's something that somebody like this would do differently. If you cast a big action star, like, it's the equivalent of casting like Chris Hemsworth. If you did an American remake and cast Chris Hemsworth, you wouldn't have Chris Hemsworth kind of flailing around as he ran slightly stupidly away in a comedic manner. You'd have him charging. You'd see his face. It'd be face up like that, distraught, and then just right at a car if he's running to a car. Yeah. It would be shot differently. Here, it's just kind of, they're not afraid to make them human, you know.
Yeah, and quite often his action scenes, they're not slick and highly choreographed. They're almost as they would happen in real life, you know, full of mistakes and kind of stumbling over and slipping. I mean, they're like slapstick routines, but with a lot more kind of, bodily dismemberment and destruction. You know, kind of. I mean, his films. I mean, I suppose that's the main kind of thing that kind of puts newcomers to him off. You know, something, it's not their thing. You know, his films are extremely violent, extremely brutal, almost sadistic at times. You know, in the attitudes to violence and what his characters are put through. But they do feel rooted in a reality, you know, and like it's not that far removed from what would actually happen if people were put in these kind of terrible situations.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned this when we were talking about Gareth Evans and The Raid. You know, his character kind of gets up, sees like 10 guys coming at him with knives and baseball bats and swords, and yes, he will eventually take them on in like martial arts style, but quite a lot of the time he just goes, no, I'm running, I'm out of here, you know. And there is a just subtle choices like that, and I mean, even in Oldboy, occasionally, you know, like as much as Choi Min-sik is been training for like 12 years, locked in a hotel to be a badass, and he takes all these people down, there are times where he goes, I've got nothing. You know, there's no way I can bite my way out of this at times, and it's that decision to make them vulnerable and not impervious. Like, you can't imagine Jason Statham doing that, could you?
No, it's such a basic thing, but it's so rare in an action film, an action scene, to see the main character getting tired, visibly getting tired. You know, and it's like basically, like, almost like they can hardly lift their arms, you know, and carry on, you know, and they are getting wounded and stabs, and you know, every fight they're a bit more weak, you know, a bit weaker than the last because of what they've been through.
Yeah. Well, imagine John Wick doing that, like, it just wouldn't happen.
Let's use that to just go straight into Oldboy, and I'll continue it because, yes, he does get tired, but like, if we're going to care about the realism-ish, you know, it's not fully realism, but that sort of aspect, he ate dumplings from one specific place and punched a wall for 15, like, that's not going to train you to fight a bunch of bad guys or get you in shape or any of that.
Apparently it can. He
was watching martial arts movies on his little TV as well.
Yeah, and we know that those are super realistic. Yeah, there's no wires involved in any of this.
He's trained by Steven Seagal on TV, you know, a bit like Katie and Megan 2. Yeah, definitely.
So, Oldboy was directed by Spike Lee, released in 2013. No, I'll inflict that on you guys some other time because that's fun. I love doing that.
What, awful remakes? We'll throw on you the Italian Job remake.
Oh, yes. I don't care. I'll watch it. By the way, that version is described as a neo-noir action thriller. So, there you go. Yeah, Oldboy.
What's this one described as?
Ooh, good question. It is
psychological thriller.
An action thriller film.
Okay, so they go in two separate categories, are new classifications of the Golden Globes, yeah?
Yeah. Kieran, you, I think, are closer. It's definitely more psychological thriller.
Whatever that is.
Well, it's about the psychology of the characters and very directly references a prominent. It's Oedipal there. We'll put it that way. To put it in Freudian terms.
All thrillers use some psychology in some way. It's just most of the ones are just very badly done.
It's ones that really focus on it, and that is I would say, direct aspect of the plot and not secondary. In this film, it's very much about the psychology of these two characters that are ultimately at the center of it, but one of them is just the guy we're following as the protagonist.
Yeah.
Apparently something is a central aspect of it. This defines the genre now. So this one is a gun thriller. This one is a sword thriller. This one is a explodey thriller. Like,
anyway, Oldboy's clearly a hammer thriller then.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's literally a hammer horror movie.
Look, here, we don't have time to fight these semantics. We need to talk about Oldboy.
I will do a whole podcast on this rant.
I will too. We can. You know what? We should do an episode about psychological thriller. Anyway.
Okay.
This is Odeh Soo. That is the guy. He's we've already discussed this. He's a bad guy. He is drunk on his daughter's birthday, and he's at a police station just throwing a fit and being
now the police station scene is definitely just all out comedy. That's a hilarious scene.
I mean, it is, but like when you go in understanding the movie, it just has an undercurrent immediately that is. You know what? I'm going to start here. Spoilers for Oldboy. If you haven't seen Oldboy, if you don't know anything about Oldboy, just skip ahead to The Handmaiden. Because Oldboy relies very much on a couple of twists, and even just saying that is probably enough to put people off. But I would say that the shock factor of this film and its twists and things like that really are what draw most people to it. And, looking at critical reviews of Oldboy, even then, they'll talk about, like, how some of the shock and stuff is, a cheap tactic in a sense. And then also audiences, whenever they talk about it, they're very strongly drawn to the story and the twists and, basically the reasons me as a teenage boy sat down to watch Oldboy. The violence, the weirdness. Sam, you already talked about him sucking down an octopus. It's like maybe the fifth most disturbing thing in the movie.
I mean, is it more disturbing knowing that Choi Min-sik was a lifelong vegetarian, and he said to Park, I will do this for you on camera, but you only get one take. If you don't get it the first take, I'm not doing it again. So I will do it for the art, but just once.
Good man.
That's kind of a bummer. Roger Ebert was one of the critics. He insists the film matters because it strips the heart bare and not because of the sensation. And that is true. So although I led with, and pretty much anybody is going to lead with, the sensation of Oldboy, like, it's a really thoughtful and interesting film. It borders on, like, sci-fi, even though it's, based in 2003 and uses only 2003 technology. Just the level of intricacy that the antagonist has to utilize in order for any of this to work is, like, absurd. Like,
there is a almost Jigsaw level of, like, exactness.
It's exactly like Jigsaw. Yeah. It could be contrived. You could argue it, but it's such a good movie that I don't think you would.
I think any story like this that requires an impossible level of planning, and for the villain to have foreseen so many different variations of what could happen and plan for instigate like backup plans and fallbacks. Just it always falls apart. If you kind of put kind of actual real logic on it, but you go with it. This is based on a comic book after all, and it's meant to be an exaggerated kind of heightened world, I think, really.
I thought comics were meant to be exact reality. I thought that's how they worked.
On top of that, it's a Japanese comic too, so and I don't know what Korean fiction is like outside of the Korean auteurs that I've watched, but I'd have to imagine there's like less, things that we would associate with Japanese media in them, but also maybe not. I don't know. It appears that a lot of the weirdness really culminates in two of the films that are specifically about, based on or incorporating Japanese media. So, Oldboy follows Odeh. He is drunk at a police station, captured, by he doesn't know who, if for a reason he doesn't know. He's forced to stay in there from 1988 until 2003. During that time, he watches TV. He punches the wall to train. He eats dumplings from the same place every day, and he slowly carves a hole in the wall to try and escape. And then once he is actually released, he doesn't escape. He is released by his captors. He goes to find out who took him and why, and that is pretty much how the story unfolds. And then along the way, he meets a young young woman, because she is 19 years old. You get to do that math at some point and make sure it's only like super weird and not extra super weird. And yes, along the way, they have a story together. God, like I said, it's impossible to talk about this movie without spoiling it. And that's what we are about to do. So if you've still made it this far, spoilers away. The
I was going to
bad
say,
guy...
this will give kind of chapter titles when we move away from the spoilers for Oldboy, right? In the rewatch.
Yes, hopefully.
Okay. Hopefully so. If not, skip about 20 minutes, half an hour ahead, and then backtrack slightly if you have to.
Yes, skip until the little thing at the bottom of the screen says The Handmaiden. Or just watch it with the spoilers, because, who cares? It's still great. You're just thinking about the spoilers the entire time is the primary issue with knowing them. So like I said, I watched this movie once in the mid-2000s. Haven't seen it since. I've been meaning to watch it. I've been meaning to watch the Spike Lee one, too, just to see, what the deal is with that.
I think I've refused to watch the Spike Lee one until I'm actually forced to do it at gunpoint at this point.
Yeah. Thankfully, I've forgotten most of it. I mostly remember Sam Jackson has a white mohawk in it and gets killed. Gets killed, I think, when Josh Brolin, playing the main character, puts his head in a vice and starts to squeeze. That's the main thing I remember from it.
That does sound pretty cool. But the story it follows Odeh through all of that, and for this version, not the American version, because they could have completely changed everything. The person who captured him was a former schoolmate. They went to the Evergreen Old Boys school or whatever. That's why it's called Oldboy, and they knew each other in school, and it turned out Odeh saw something that he should not have seen, which was the bad guy having sex with his sister, and so they caught him doing that, and she ended up, dead, and man, it's a real bummer. Also super weird, and so the bad guy's plan is I'm going to keep him in prison for 15 years and use a hypnotist to trick him into sleeping with his daughter. So, yes, the daughter from the beginning, who he has a Christmas present for, or birthday present for, he's taken on her birthday. He comes out. She is an adult, and they are tricked into desiring each other because of, hypnosis again.
Plot.
Yes. And really, that sort of stuff does. It's a really good movie. That drags it down for me a little bit. Just thinking about, okay, they did all this with hypnosis, that's just a little ridiculous to get to a plot twist. And I realize this is based on a manga, so it's not, you're just going with what was written in the original story. But I don't know, it feels unnecessary and just a bit too ridiculous for me to really like as far as the story, appreciate what's going on there.
It's interesting because you go, how else would you do it? And then you'd go this and this and this and this and this, and then you go, somehow hypnosis is the simplest way to do it, and yet the most ridiculous at the same time.
Any kind of like hand waving kind of pop stuff would be equally kind of ridiculous, really.
Yeah. Now you see me would just go, it's all magic tricks. And then again, go, it's hypnosis. It's exactly the same way that we do it.
If what the plan was, even just keeping it at, I imprisoned you and wanted you to figure all this out, I'm dying or something, just any of that would be satisfactory. And then I think a less stupid way that would still allow for contrivance would be trick him into killing her for some reason. And that would be just as tragic and just as brutal for him. But yeah, no, I get that it's in the original thing, and you're gonna stick with all of that. It is iconic. You're gonna remember it. It's a very, very important to the film as it exists. But I'm not objecting to it itself. I'm more objecting to the fact that it was a plan enacted by the bad guy, and it's just completely ridiculous.
I will say very, very quickly on the bad guy, as I just looked him up, played by Yu Ji-tae, who has actually appeared in another movie that we've done a while ago. He has a cameo role in The House That Jack Built.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And it's weird because, for all the fame that Oldboy has, aside from kind of this and Lady Vengeance, outside of Korea, not known for anything. You would have thought he'd have appeared in another couple of big heavy hitters that would have made it outside of Korea. But looking through his filmography, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't recognise anything else. I'm sure they probably were.
I did the exact same thing to check and see, has this guy been in anything else? And no. I mean, as far as that I've heard of or that I'm going to be interested in. But
because he's so good in this.
Yeah, he gives a really good performance. It is a little weird that he looks, and I realize part of this is Odeh Soo has been in a jail for 15 years and he looks crazy and all that, but he does look a lot younger, and I didn't check their birth years, the two actors. Look, maybe this guy, he just aged really well. Who knows? Yeah. He does look significantly younger in terms of wrinkles and stuff.
He's just got a good skincare regime. I think that's what we're
They are 14 years apart. So Chun Sik was May 30th, 1962. Yu Ji-tae was April 13th, 1976.
They look 14 years apart.
Yeah.
But I mean, the bad guy's he's still great. He's very he's not a Bond villain, but he's bordering on it because he is so in control. He's a rich guy. He wears
in a little
nice
evil lair.
Yeah, he's also a bit like the Riddler from Batman, isn't he? 'Cause he's part of it is to prove how much smarter, and more kind of he is, the Odeh Soo, and just to kind of string him along for as long as possible and to put in all these kind of traps for him to fall into and to lead him down this path until it's too late for him to do anything else but exactly what he wants him to do. So
I do love that with Odeh Soo. Oh gosh, well I forgot what it was now, but something with the bad guy in him. But oh well,
something with the bad
Moving
guy
on.
in him, definitely.
But I mean, look, I'm just kind of getting my complaints out of the way because this is a really good movie. That one thing that stands out to me is the way he shoots. With the actor talking directly into the camera, so that's how a lot of that opening shot is done. That's how the prison stuff is done. There's the same. So the hallway scene. If you don't know anything else about Oldboy,
this is what Park Chan-wook for. This is you can have heard about it, but realistically, almost the first shot you see before you watch Oldboy is that one shot there.
You'll know the hallway scene and you'll know the twist and
and it's been so influential in so many different action films since so many action movie directors thought, I'm going to do my version of the Oldboy hallway hammer fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think very, very, very quickly with that, there is a slight bit in Train to Busan where the three of them, kind of led by Dong Ma-seok, kind of is, all right, then let's go for it.
Yeah.
And then he bursts in, and literally the first bit of like fighting a couple of the zombies you see at this one shot is a side view going along the train, and there's three of them coming at him. It's the same movement.
Yeah.
It then cuts away because the kind of action style is different. But that opening thing, you just got, even if it's like 2 seconds, you just go, oh boy, South Korea. Like, it only came out 14 years old. We know what's happening here.
But the first season of Daredevil on Netflix did one of the more memorable scenes was basically a remake of that. It was Daredevil in a corridor, filmed from the side, kind of killing like wave after wave of henchmen, basically.
Interestingly enough, again, this video I saw, I think it's for Letterboxd a couple of years ago. No, it must have been recently because he put the choice on there as well. He mentioned that shot and he said a couple of things. It was interesting. One, he goes, I know it's impossible because you look at that and you go, the only way to get it is to remove a wall. And it's like, I knew people would go, this is ridiculous because you're going to have to remove a wall and it might take you out of it. But it's like, I kind of didn't care because I wanted that shot more than I wanted the fact that I've removed a wall in order to get this. But his influence, he goes, I almost wanted something like one of the medieval tapestries, like the long tapestries where you got loads of scenes as you go along kind of thing. I'm like, that's the inspiration you're drawing on to do like a fight scene in like a really violent, like dark thriller movie? Like,
I can see it,
there, man.
Yeah. I mean, because when I don't see a lot of Korean art, so I'm going to Japanese. A lot of their horizontal woodblock prints that tell like a long story, like it's reminiscent of that.
It's one of the things that they'll find in a cave somewhere, like Godzilla and New Empire. The ones where, having not seen it at all in an unknown language that they've never seen before, the main character can instantly decipher accurately. It's one of those.
And when you mention the removal of a wall there, like that is how this camera style functions. Is all cameras are the fourth wall. You can't see my quotes in this frame. Yeah. I'll have to learn how to tighten that up. But it is literally the fourth wall of the scene is how he's taking it. It's not quite Wes Anderson, but like it's getting into that mode where there's a lot of like centralizing and stuff like that going on. And the Handmaiden, it at least definitely borrows that shot style in one or two places. I don't remember it in Decision to Leave. There's a lot of green in this movie. But it's not just because it's an early 2000s movie or post-Matrix movie. It seems to have function beyond, just popular aesthetics.
I think it folds into the themes of the film. It's like adds like a feeling of like sickness and queasiness to everything, doesn't it? Which is very appropriate for what's going to happen.
It's not like a lively green. It's almost like an algae green sort of thing, which when you think he's been stagnating in a hotel room for 15 years, definitely feels part of it.
And it also, in that final scene, like it's the really prominent color in the water and in the lighting throughout the apartment or penthouse. And then obviously there's like the purple box that contains the truth. What is going on?
What's in the box?
It's what's in the box, all right. Fortunately, only one of them finds out what's in the box. The way the ending unfolds is really not the ending, but the final main sequence is interesting because the fight scene is it's edited together and there's music and you don't get like the sound, whereas with the hallway scene there's a lot of the really visceral fist to skin contact sounds that really make the scene. Staying on the sound, there's like random spaghetti western music in the soundtrack that I like a lot. And then just the scenes that stand out to me this time through, since I already knew kind of the main set pieces and all that, were just little bits like the flashback. I really liked that. I vaguely remembered it, but I like the visual switch and like the camera angle differences he's using. There's like more low angle and plenty of voyeur stuff in there too, since he has to shoot some of that.
Very Hitchcock.
Yeah, he is very Hitchcock, isn't he?
Yeah, one of the things I was actually thinking about is that one of the things I noticed again watching, half his filmography, is that it's something I remember from first as well, but I think I definitely picked up on again, is that he likes to do kind of subtle, small camera moves in order to give visual information without needing to spell it out. Yeah. And this is again something Hitchcock would always say, is like, if you can give the information without the character having to say it, don't have the character say it. We are screenwriters, not script writers. And this advice holds most of the time. Sometimes there's just, you have to give the information verbally, and there's no other way. And sometimes it's just easier to give the information verbally because it's quicker and you can move on, and there are reasons to do it. It's like the old writing adage of show, don't tell. It works 90% of the time, but sometimes you do have to do some telling because there's just no other way around it. It's more practical, it's more efficient, it keeps flow, there are reasons to change it up. But he will, several instances, just do like a very small pan across or a very slight zoom or stuff like that. And it's those subtle, small camera movements where he'll kind of build multiple things into a single shot and not be like overly flashy about it, but move with a purpose. And I think it's those that kind of say, this is a director that knows what he wants to do and is able to execute it incredibly well.
One version I really think of when you mention that, and it's not something that, like, it's not telling you information in the sense of, like, otherwise this could be done in dialogue. It couldn't be done any other way. But whenever the friend who owns the internet cafe is on the phone with Odeh Sue, and he's talking about, oh yeah, I remember Sue. Yeah, she was real. She got around. And then the camera pans over to the bad guy sitting directly across from him. Like, it's such a fun moment before he then goes over and kills him.
Well, I mean, a lot of kind of directors now, especially sort of, and I think when I say Western, I mean the ones that are kind of working with your big blockbusters, and I know it's different, but the ones that have essentially been so much put under the producer thumb that they have to shoot in a certain way. You'd have done that, but you'd have had 2 cuts in there, in order to get that. Here goes. Why don't we just do it all in one go? We have
we'd also have it the entire scene where he's also sitting with his back turned, and we get the reverse shot intermixed as he gets angrier.
Yeah, you do it like so many different ways. Here it's just very simple, just done. I remember specifically a shot in Thirst. I couldn't tell you what the context was. It's near the beginning. There's a conversation people are having, and there's somebody sat there's like a dinner scene. And there's another character sat sort of at the back of the room, and this camera goes from one character, pans, lingers for about a second on this character at the back of the room, and back to the other character on the other side of the conversation. Information's gone between them. We don't need to say anything, and it's just stuff like that. Again, if it was sort of like let's take a Marvel movie, we shouldn't take it, but sod it. We all know what We've all got a visual style in our head when we think of a Marvel movie, you know what I mean? Like, it's very kind of bog-standard filming for a lot of it, because it has to go through a mill and please everybody, and, oh, how dare you have originality. Something like that would have been cut here, cut to that person, cut back to there, instead of the camera movement. Yeah. And that says, we just got all the cameras in, shot it, and we'll do it in the editing suite. Park Chan-wook has gone, no, we can do it all in one shot, and the movement itself physically tells you something, rather than you having to piece the information together based on the information I'm giving you. There's a guttural feeling in that camera motion that you would not get just from a cut, because the cuts are so regular. Unless you do it for a particular reason, at a particular time, they kind of just start to wash over you. And that's when you could tell a good editor that will cut, and it feels it, rather than just having it wash over you.
Yeah, and we've talked about, well, it was a Thai movie, but with Shudder, period technology. I love seeing period technology in films. At the point in time we're watching it, this is cutting edge, and the character of Odeh Soo is learning like how to use a cell phone and how to get on AIM and stuff like that. So that's fun, and then it's fun to be like, oh yeah, no, that's nothing that we use now. None of it is like this at all.
When's the last time you went to an internet cafe?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they are more popular in Asia, but yeah, like, you know, just it's such an interesting artifact in that sense. And Sam, to go back to what you were talking about Odeh Soo being a, you know, detestable protagonist that we're still... I don't know if I'd say I'm rooting for him. I'm more just wanting him to learn the answers so that I can learn the answers. And I would say that that's a good trick to get us to kind of root for him. But, like, he, to me, is the level of detestable character that I do have to question. Like, even with his reaction at the end to the knowledge he's learned, if someone else didn't know about it, would he have had that sort of reaction? Is something I do have to wonder with him. And maybe I'm, you know, judging him too harshly, because he does at least try and save the guy who he tells his story to, which is a really fun short framing device at the beginning to give us background of the imprisonment and all that before we get to the present. But yeah, I mean, he does try and, like, you know, assault her earlier in the film while she's on the toilet. Like, he's not a stand-up guy in any sense. So,
and that's why I think he's an interesting character. That he's got his good points and his bad points, but ultimately he's in a situation that you do kind of sympathise with. You know, that's again, you wouldn't see Jason Statham.
Would we say he has his good points? What are his good points?
I mean, his willpower. You know, the fact that he was taken against his will. You know.
I mean, those aren't good points. That's something that happened to him, and
yeah, but his desire to find it is something that you can empathise with in some way.
That's true.
You know,
okay.
I think it's worse when you know the twist. I think it's probably better the first time through.
I would say in that sense that we are saying that he has potentially admirable qualities.
We'll go
best.
for that. Yeah, yeah. So would we consider him an anti-hero more than a protagonist?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the same qualities as like a cornered animal, hasn't he? Really, they're like feral kind of qualities. You know, it's that instinct for survival, you know, to protect themselves, you know, and free themselves, you know.
Although he does, like, right at the end when he discovers, like, the truth, he does essentially just, like, offer to throw away absolutely everything in order to protect the one he's into. And again, that's what I like, where it kind of, that scene, I mean, I haven't seen the US remake version, but if it was to be purely made from a US point of view initially, there'd be a shootout there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's a crime thriller, you've got to have a big shootout right at the end. There isn't. You know, it is the main guy who's gone through all this, literally going, I give up, I will do anything, do it, I will degrade myself and all this kind of thing in order to keep it a secret. You know, all these secrets. And that is an interesting direction that wouldn't have happened any other way.
Yeah, because it's awful enough for just him to live with it, but he's going to ensure that no one else has to live with that information. Yeah. And from what I remember from the Spike Lee remake, all like the main points are still there. They're unchanged. You know, he does some different things stylistically, makes it more of a Spike Lee joint. But otherwise, just if you got the original, you don't need another version of it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, then the very end, after the penthouse scene, he does have to live with the knowledge of what he did. So he goes to see the hypnotist to have her erase his memory, and you know the final shot is him hugging his daughter after that memory has supposedly been erased, and he puts on that forced smile. It's very unnerving. And you do have to question whether or not it worked, but
and he's cut his tongue out at this point as well, hasn't he? So.
Yeah.
And
interesting enough, very quickly on that ending, Park Chan-wook has said that because the daughter doesn't find out the truth, he goes, that was something that kind of, it was necessary for the plot, but it was weird for me at the same time, which is kind of what led him to eventually do Lady Vengeance, as I said. So it was as a result of doing this that he went and did the next one.
I mean, I suppose you could argue, is the daughter much of a character, or is she just a plot device in this, and which again, I think maybe did lead towards Lady Venture, when very much, the main character, the female protagonist, is like a really interesting kind of figure of force of nature, and she's got so much agency, and she is the strongest and most deadly person in the whole thing by quite some distance. So maybe that's an antidote to some choices here.
Yeah, and so that last scene happens, and the quote throughout the film has been, "Laugh and the whole world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone." And the second that was brought up while he's in his prison cell, and it's on a very creepy painting. That's the moment I realized this is a proto-Joker movie, and I'm surprised that they copied Taxi Driver and whatever that other Scorsese movie they copied.
King of Comedy.
Yes, they should have copied Oldboy for the Joker movie. Maybe they can do that for Joker 3.
There's going to be a Joker 3.
I mean, there's going to be another Joker movie at some point. Whatever the next one is, just copy Oldboy. Do we have any final thoughts on Oldboy, fellas?
Oldboy's great.
Yep, good movie.
Yes. And I'm going to watch I'm just going to rewatch all 3 of those movies. And then every movie he's ever made. And Thirst. Anyway, let's talk about The Handmaiden.
Yeah. Somehow, I hadn't worked out before doing this that this was based on a novel by Sarah Waters, who I have read one book by her within the last year, about a year ago. I've read The Little Stranger, close enough for my PhD, because it's a ghost novel. And I was like, I'll grab that one. So it's written by her, and she's Welsh somehow.
I was hoping the latest Sydney Sweeney, Amanda Seyfried movie was a remake of this. But I'm guessing it's not.
No, it is not, although admittedly, I have to, in my head now, it's Handmaiden, not Housemaid.
Yes. Well,
really
and also, I don't want that. The subtext of that does not mean what you think it means.
The weird thing about kind of the Sydney Sweeney film, though, is The Housemaid. There have been 2 Korean films called The Housemaid from previous decades. So there was one in the 2000s and one in the 60s, I want to say. But again, this one still isn't connected to those 2 either. They come from similar thematic ground, but they're not like remakes. They're just, I believe, the latest one's based on a different book.
Yeah.
This movie rocks.
Yeah, so this one is really good. It's beautifully done. Based on Fingersmith by Sarah Waters, who I've just got to very quickly look whereabouts in Welsh she's from. Oh, she's from Pembrokeshire. Okay. So probably about, I don't know, from me, maybe 70, 80 mile.
Kieran, that's really interesting to hear, because so much of it feels specific to Korea and its occupation by Japan.
Yeah, so the original novel, it's a kind of historical crime novel in the Victorian period, and Park Chan-wook made the decision specifically to transplant it to a period in Korea when it was on Japanese occupation. I have not read the original book, so maybe after this, I mean, Sarah Waters done like 7 novels, so maybe I'll go and do them all. And hilariously enough, she was actually... So when we did the Ghost Story for Christmas episode, I mentioned a BBC podcast which had been done like a couple of days earlier. Sarah Waters was on that as well, mentioning a few things. But yeah, Handmaiden. So we've got a rich kind of guy living in a mansion who needs a new handmaiden for the wife, soon to be betrothed. I can't remember the exact specific.
His niece that he plans to marry, who is the lady of the house.
That one, yeah.
His dead wife's niece.
Yeah. And so does all the handmaiden things, and then sort of 20 minutes in, you get the first of many kind of sort of whiplash things, where it turns out she's not a handmaiden after all. She is essentially the daughter of a thief and a pickpocket and a minter and a forger and everything like that. And she is essentially there
she's a
in
spy,
order to
basically.
Yeah, she's essentially there to get the lady of the house to marry the count in order that you'll then put her away, and then she goes off with the count once he's then got access to the money, and therefore like that. So she's essentially in that house as essentially a please marry him push, and then we'll do a switch later on, and then that goes all this way, and then it eventually turns out that kind of she gets put in the asylum, and then there's 1,001 back twists and turns and falling in on yourself and all this kind of stuff.
It's hard to give just like a very short description of this movie,
Yeah.
other than there's a handmaid who's trying to rob a lady with a guy. Because you say the count, and then you need to go back and say, but he's not actually a count, he's her crime boss.
Yeah, he's not actually a count, but then she's not actually this and that's not actually that.
If she's like,
I do realise I'm now doing a podcast on this movie, and I've no idea how to sum it up or even begin to talk about this movie.
If go to Dickens' terms, if she's the Artful Dodger, then he's her Fagin, basically.
Yeah, we'll go with that one.
Let me try this. There's a sad rich lady who reads books, and she's going to get conned by these two people, but she falls in love along the way.
Yeah. The real thing is the friends we made along the way.
Yeah. And the pervy rich uncle has been raising her to read just pornographic text for all his rich mates for all her life, basically, since she was about
and acted out.
5. And acted out,
Yeah.
Since she was a child, which is all kinds of disturbing.
Also, the bad guy is the coolest looking bad guy we've watched in a while. It not because of anything other than his outfit, the glasses. It's all cool, but the black tongue from him licking his ink pen all day, it's so good.
It's not like a washy brush, is it? It's the equivalent of. Also giant octopus in the tank, obviously.
Yes.
It's
also some hentai in it.
Yeah, that is actually a kind of classical image, as far as I know. The main one you're thinking of with the octopus. It's been around for a good 150 odd years, I think. Kind of the weird stuff you have to look up when you're like a writer is insane. I can't remember where I picked that up, but I know it's a classical image at some point. This movie's really good.
Yeah.
It just is. And it's interesting, again, Park Chan-wook was asked about this and goes, you're not known for being a filmmaker that deliberately goes out to put across a message. There might be something in there, but it's not like he's going to focus the entire film on making some kind of political statement of some kind of that. He might do one or two, but it's not his kind of common oeuvre. And it goes, but this one does have a kind of thing. It's about two women trying to get out from under the thumb of a tyrannical, patriarchal, soul-destroying society.
It very much keeps that central message from the novel, doesn't it? Like, essentially, it's 2.5 hours to basically say in a very kind of decadent, enjoyable fashion, but basically to get around to the point that women, they'd just be better off without men, really, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Why do I think that this is something in like her life? Why do I think that? Yeah, I think Sarah Waters, the original novelist, is her partner is female, so I don't know if she's at least queer. I don't know her exact orientation, but the fact that there is queer stuff very prominently in this novel, in the film. Is obviously drawing probably on her own life and her own experiences coming through in the novel, which then gets translated into the film as well. So there's a lot of that going on in there, and it's interesting, obviously, that this is when Korea's occupied by Japan. So I'm not exactly sure when that is. We've got the lecture light. So why do I think like 1930s, something like that?
30s. Yeah.
So it's between the two wars. So definitely back then, this was not a done thing, at all. Even worse in Korea than in other places.
Yeah,
so the fact that this is a prominent thing in here is
so
is interesting.
Japan expanded their empire, took over Manchuria, which is in China, and then took over Korea as well at the same time. So
yeah, and then you get the kind of the Japanese-Chinese war and stuff kicking off, and everything happening from there. This movie's so good, but it is one of those ones where if you lose it for 5 minutes and come back,
I know.
You are going, hang on, how did we get here? Because it does go back and go over certain things from a different angle, and then go back under it again. And
and he does do full-on retreads like the same sequences from different points of view. But he also throws in just like the odd throwaway shot, which you don't think is significant at the time, but then it comes back later. And oh, actually, no, it was very significant.
Yeah.
Well, when you say that, I specifically think of the first sex scene in the movie is shot in two completely different ways because of the amount of information we have. It's very interesting.
And I mean, one thing I was thinking about just writing in general just today is that all writing, and therefore, I guess, directing in some way, is realistically only two things. It's either giving information or concealing information. That is it. That is all writing and therefore directing as well. It's what information do you give, what information do you conceal, and it's the unveiling and that kind of thing which leads to it. So this whole thing is about giving and concealing information in multiple aspects. You see it from multiple different angles. One of the things I also thought of was when she loses a shoe early on, and it turns out that one of the kind of other handmaids has kind of taken it as a joke and then gives it back later, goes sorry for doing on it. And then you go, well, they must have had a talking to. And then later on, you find out the actual reason for having the talking to is do not push that handmaiden away. I need it for my own plot, because the Count is working two different plots at the same time in order to actually get what he wants. And he's essentially playing three people off against each other. And so, everything that you thought you knew then goes back for a completely different reason than you thought you'd already worked out, even when the information wasn't given to begin with. So it's almost like I'm 3 steps ahead of you going on. And so in that way, it's a very good, almost just a general crime thriller in that sense as well. That the information's been given, taken back, and twisted for alternate meanings. But along with that, it's just beautifully shot as well. It's a gorgeous looking movie. It's an incredibly acted film. It's just... you just watch it and you just go, there may be things I dislike, but I also can't fault it at all. Again, a couple of his zooms, I'm not a fan of that. But at the same time, it's I can't.
The kind of the twists every few scenes, and then the the real dark kind of undercurrents. A lot of it, it's just so well appointed, and as you say, kind of very, just beautifully kind of constructed. The production design, the costumes, and everything, and the emotions on display. It's almost like you wouldn't necessarily guess it was a Park film for a lot of this, but then you have all double crossing and the abuse and everything like that. Oh yeah, there he is, and then the fact, and then the scenes towards the end, the dungeon, where the where the uncle's taking revenge on the fake Count, making very creative use of his book binding kind of technology. I mean, basically, it's a massive guillotine used to cut, big sorts of paper, and of course, you can use that to cut things off as well.
Just very quickly, because I have just found it very, very quickly. So the painting that's there is called "The Dream of the Fisherman's Wife," and if I had to tell you, it was by a Japanese painter or artist from the 1800s. There's only one name you're thinking of, and that is Hokusai. And guess what is Hokusai? So the same person that did the Great Wave, which is seen as the Titanic figure painting of Japan, the whole idea of kind of Western imperialism coming in to destroy Mount Fuji, which is what it actually is, because it's part of his paintings of Fuji scene, has also done really weird monster erotica as a woodblock just to sell. Thing.
Slight tangent. One of the highlights.
It's a living.
One of the highlights of my life as an art an art lover was seeing Hokusai, scenes of from Mount Fuji, went on tour a few, about 10 years ago, and I saw them at the British Museum. It's queued for ages again. It was very popular, but just to see those paintings in person is incredible.
That's so cool.
The originals, yeah.
For the performances in this movie, like they are all good, but Kim Min-hee, who plays Lady Hideko, because of her specific, the way her performance is layered and edited, it allows her to come across as just the best performer in this movie. Which, not that the others are bad, but man, she is incredible.
Yeah, because the actress plays Suki. She's more kind of. I suppose she has to be more energetic and kind of nervy and everything like that, playing all these different shades of her character straight away. But as you say, the lady has to kind of keep everything kind of buttons up, and kind of keep things restrained up till the point when it's revealed kind of what she's been able to do all this time. Then she gets to play a whole other layer and a whole other side to this character.
Yeah, and this was so for Kim Tyree. This was her second film, and I think she was chosen from 1,500 actresses or something like that. And she'd done an independent film and 2 theatre plays or something like that. Very relatively speaking inexperienced. And then you get cast in a Park Chan-wook movie. You're just okay, right. This is going to be interesting.
She's playing the Handmaiden, and I like what you said, that she's kind of showing her, hand immediately in terms of performance for us. But I do like that her character, the way that she does her cons, is she does try to be genuine as much as possible, and she's just concealing what she ultimately has to conceal.
It's almost like they're more to believe you if you believe it yourself. She's really, really selling the story.
Costanza.
Yeah. It's such a kind of don't know what to say about this movie, especially because you can't go into that many twists and turns.
Well, because spoilers, we're going into the twists and turns.
All right, so the original plot. What original plot? Okay, so the whole idea of her coming in as a handmaiden isn't true, because she's actually aspired to get them to marry each other. Turns out that isn't true, because the Count, who is actually her crime boss, actually doesn't wants to marry her, but then doesn't want to lock the lady of the house. I can't remember names.
Lady Hideko.
Hideko doesn't want her locked up in the asylum. It's going to lock up Suki, the handmaiden, in the asylum to essentially get rid of the evidence, in a way. But then it turns out, much later on, in part 3, that this is all a plot as well, because it turns out that the two women have now revealed themselves to each other in an amazing moment which blends everything, because Lady Hideko is essentially goes to hang herself. Suki kind of grabs her by the waist to stop her doing everything. She reveals her secret. Hideko reveals the secret to go back, and she's just how dare that guy do that? Just lets her start strangling and hanging. I'm sorry.
I mean, that is a great moment of really dark comedy where she gets distracted and nearly accidentally kills.
It's almost like British sketch show comedy sort of thing. You'd imagine something like Armstrong and Miller doing that as a skit just on its own, and would work perfectly fine. So then it turns out when she goes into the asylum, that's all a ploy, because they're going to get a thing to get her back out again, so that they can both run off together and everything.
Did they get a thing, or did they set off an explosion that allowed her to escape?
Well, I think, I'm not sure if it's explained if the explosion is planned, but you have to kind of believe it's in some way set up. I don't think there's anything that goes, okay, 2 days' time, we're going to set off an explosion and you can run out. The plan is never explained, which, again, it would be in an American film. Or a British film, or just somewhere that's not as... doesn't believe its audience
it would be
as clever
as
as they
nice
are.
To understand if it was happenstance or part of the plan, but I mean, it ultimately doesn't matter. I understand.
Well, the thing is, as soon as you go, there's fire, she kind of takes the hairpin out and starts like undoing her shackles. So the fact she immediately switches, I think, tells you that she's either taking advantage of circumstances that have come across very quickly for her, or that it's all planned. And the fact that later on Hideki knows where to find her suggests that it was planned. And again, I think this is just the great things that Park Chan-wook's going. The fact that all these things line up, I'm sure the audience will work this out, because this is the way that it'll have to be done. If it was made in a... Oh, well, I'm not going to say an American movie. I'll say in a country, because the Brits are just as bad.
We can say a film made for a wider audience, maybe.
Or a film made, overseen by producers who don't believe their audience are as clever as they are, we'll say. Which I think is a lot of the issue. That like 3 people out of 5,000 that watch a film go, I didn't understand this, and so everyone's like, okay, dumb it down. Which I think is the issue, rather than taking the majority.
Yeah, again, to kind of massively but accurately generalise your next Netflix originals designed for multi-screen watching. So basically, it's like they constantly deliver notes saying, "Oh, I don't think the audience would have quite got that." If they're looking at their phone at the time, you probably need to state it again out loud. So lose the place.
But wasn't there the thing about...
It's one of those annoying things, when filmmakers or the people paying them, don't have faith in their audience and basically paying to the kind of playing to the lowest common denominator.
Wasn't there a story about Man of Steel that one of the notes from the producers after saw like the first cut was like, "This is great, but why don't they ever go back to Krypton?" It's just like, what? It was destroyed in minute 10 of the movie. What are you on about? I'm going to say...
Make sure you have Clark say that.
Krypton was destroyed. 3 minutes later, my planet was destroyed. In another nation that is, again, underproduced, that believe that they're not as clever, there would be a 3-minute montage of both of them going through a plan, verbally explaining it. They don't bother with this. It's like, look, the fact that she knows where to meet her, the fact there was a fire like a day after she go into the asylum, and the fact that she immediately goes, right, let's go, suggests there's probably some kind of setup involved. And that's the beauty of something like this, where they just let it go. Oh, God, Frozen is going. Anyway.
Well, I think for me, the best recontextualization is... So there's 3 parts to the movie. Part 1 is the straightforward, this handmaiden is going to help the fake count rob this lady. Then part 2 is we see the lady's side of it, and then part 3 is the convergence of what has conspired in 2 and 3. So the ending. So part 1, it has the lady say, I'm tired from reading all day. She has to read these books in the library all day long. No. That's all we know. We know that her future husband, uncle guy, rich guy, bad guy, he has a very nice library, and he has a gold mine, and he cares about the library much more than the gold mine. So she has to sit and...
Not all bad, then.
He's been paid off by the Japanese to collaborate and make their takeover easier. But he's just uses all that money just to expand his library, as you say.
Again, not all bad.
So this portion, yes. So she says she has to read books all day, and it makes her very tired. And, so I'm watching that in the first half and going, okay, I mean, I guess that sounds hard. I don't give a lot of thought to it. And then the part 2 reveals, which we've already said, what they're reading is like really sadistic pornography, and she has to read it at a certain cadence in a certain way to an all-male rich audience, and like it's control and humiliation and all of that stuff. There's one point where they say, there's no illustrations, and he says, well, I have rigged up this rope device to reenact what should be there. It completely turns that one scene from, I'm tired, to, okay, her life is horrible. Which the Count comes to that determination as well, which is how he ends up in his plot with her that is separate from his plot with the handmaiden. Hopefully this is straightforward enough for you.
And then, again, eventually you see in part 3 that actually the 2 women have actually conspired to go against the Count. So, everybody at some point thinks they're the one being conspired against in some way. And then the kind of the rich uncle kind of right at the end, they just kind of leave him to wallow in his misery in his destroyed library because they kick all his books into the water, which, look, I understand why, but at the same time, it hurts slightly seeing it. I know it's for a film, but like just seeing the books going, I'm like, nah, it's
I
not
understand
right.
it's representative of her pain, but like
The books. The
History.
books. Exactly, it's symbolically it hurts,
Kieran, they don't just leave him with that and all of his books, do they? He dies in a very fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
The fake Count likes to smoke cigarettes. He smokes. He has 5 at the end as he's being taken back to the bad guy. He smokes 3 of them at once, and then he asks the Count while he's being tortured. Oh yeah, I will recount the details of my wedding night with your niece if you will give me a cigarette. And so he smokes the cigarette. And then he smokes the other cigarette, and it turns out they are mercury laced, and it releases blue mercury gas into the room and kills them both.
Yeah, because there's also like a thing of like, is it opium or an opioid, kind of in like a vial? There's loads of little things where it's like, if you drink 5 of these, you will die instantly.
Yeah, you put a couple of drops in, and they'll be powerless. But yeah, go beyond that, and then properly dead.
The fake Count, gives that to the lady because she's concerned about, well, what if my uncle comes for me? He'll put me in the basement, which at that point we don't understand what that means. We find that out with the Count. But yeah, he gives her the opium as like, look, you can just drink it all and no worries. And then she uses it later to escape the fake Count. Yes.
And then there is an amazing moment where he kind of wakes up in the hotel room and there's just these like 2 guards. It's like, hi, we've come to take you back under like arrest essentially to this other guy. The samurai sword. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. He looks around because he's like there on the floor with no trousers on. Sees him. It's like, am I getting those for me? Again, it's just these moments of like comedy interspersed with like really dark subject matter and the ability to tread that line of a kind of laughing aloud at something so horrific, which I think you kind of need, because otherwise some of these kind of films or segments would just become unbearable, And I think this is an area where South Korea has kind of learned that a lot of Britain and the US and a lot of these countries really haven't, that when you have dark subject matter, it doesn't have to be all really dark, because in like Dark Moment there is an awful lot of absurdity, and Korea does absurd really well. I mean, no other choice is an absurdist black comedy, if nothing else. And getting those in there, a lot of these films are just so depressing all the way through. But these films kind of give you a little bit, so you're able to bear it a bit more, and it allows you to actually kind of, you're not in such a funk that you can't appreciate some of the stuff that's going on, because sometimes it's just like, I'm so good, I'm just out, You have to have those moments to keep your audience in a headspace where they're able to process and appreciate the things that are going through in the darkness, and are able to carry on through, to allow them to get through this, to kind of process what you're trying to tell them through these really dark subject matters. And I think that's actually more important than we give it a lot of credit for.
Yeah. But I also think the chemistry between the 2 female leads is great. There's an extended sex scene in it, and it doesn't feel like gross. It does genuinely feel like a loving interaction. Like, there is code having to be used in it because of the situation they're in. But under the surface, you can feel a lot of the romantic subtext, and it's just a really, it's a nice love story under all of the darkness, and it makes you feel good at the end.
Yeah, and queer love stories in South East Asian cinema aren't all that common. Still, it's very underrepresented market, so you kind of got to make the most of them when they do come up, I think.
Yeah, so I saw a clip from. I just had to look back through my YouTube history. So Film Courage on YouTube did an interview with director Park, along with the young actress that plays Suki, and they asked director Park, we should probably be addressing him, because I do like they give the honorific. It's director Park, director Park.
It's very cool. It's like Doctor.
Yeah. We wouldn't do that, I don't know, director Reiner, director Nolan, but maybe we should.
Director Rob.
They asked him, there's a lot of kind of, sexual activity and nudity on the set. How did you do it? Did you keep jokes light? Things like that. And because I know, some directors will make it as light an atmosphere as possible. His thing was that I storyboard as much as I physically can beforehand, so the actors know what they're doing and they can get prepared. And essentially, his way of doing it is to kind of get it done as quickly as possible. So it's not to make it kind of light on set. He's like, look, if I've got the time to make jokes, I've got the time to get the stuff shot. And it's just like, the less time they have to feel awkward, the easier it's going to be. And so that's his particular method in that. And I think it's just interesting that different directors will have different ways of handling stuff like that, but especially in today's society, where you have kind of more intimacy coordinators on set and stuff like that. I can't remember who it was a couple of years ago that said, like, before the Me Too movement, I would get maybe 2 or 3 jobs a year, and now I'm getting like 30 or 40, because everyone's gone, this is such a big issue that we need to properly take stock of and take that. So that's really interesting, the way he kind of gets around that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Handmaiden was great. Go watch it.
Yeah. This is my favorite of his movies now. I love it.
Yeah. Which version did you watch? The regular or the extended cut?
I'm pretty sure regular. It was on Prime, and I had to watch with commercials. So
was it like 2 hours and 10, or was it like nearer 3 hours?
Yeah. Oh no, not near 3 hours. No.
Okay, so you watched the normal version.
Yeah, I mean, the extended version is worth seeing just for kind of give characters and these big moments like more room to breathe. But as far as I can tell, it was essentially just longer versions of these same scenes, really. So I wouldn't say it's an essential watch. It's interesting, but the original cut is fine. It's his vision of the film. I think he just thought, I'll put in, there's always things that I edited down. I'll put them back to how they were, just for completeness sake.
Yeah. Or maybe while he was cutting it, he made that version and then exported it and then cut down.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, even until now, this is the most recent of his films. I mean, he's only done 2 more since, but the most recent of his films to actually get nominated for the Oscars. Yeah. As far as I know. Can't remember what he got nominated for, but I'm fairly sure he got nominated for stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do we have any final thoughts, or are we ready to move into Decision to Leave?
Another good movie. See it if you haven't.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I said this a few weeks ago when we were talking about Rob Reiner, but this is, I think, probably next to the Rob Reiner episode, the most consistently great trio of films we've had to discuss, I think. And I'm going to put this out there, maybe slightly controversial, but I think Decision to Leave is his best film to date. So obviously I haven't seen No Other Choice yet, but for me, this is kind of the high point of his directorial career so far. I think he's always been really stylistically distinctive and striking and memorable, but I think he's kind of come along so much, and this is probably his most one of his most layered and mature films, while being really kind of engaging and entertaining as well.
Sorry, just seen actually Handmaiden didn't get the nom. They went for Age of Shadows for a foreign language, but didn't get the nomination.
Well,
so even the Handmaiden didn't.
Another Korean collaborates with Japan film starring Song Kang-ho.
Sam, I completely see where you're coming from, and I do think this is a very good movie. But just this is my first time watching it, so maybe a second time, who knows how I'll feel. But this time,
I mean, I was blown away by this first time I saw it. I mean, I didn't get to see it in the cinema, but it was a movie release. I think I watched it on the movie service when it came over on streaming.
Everyone's support movie, by the way.
Yeah, and I was blown away by it when I first saw it. I think I put it in my top 5 of 2022, I think. But then going back to it this time, I did notice new things, and I think it's one of these that will grow with the rewatching. You'll notice about other little details, and it's kind of the twists coming a little bit earlier, and little kind of subtle character beats. And again, it's another film where he'll go over like the same event several times from different perspectives and reveal a bit more each time, which is interesting.
Well, and I appreciate a lot about this movie, but I like those aspects of The Handmaiden more than I like them here. And I wouldn't be upset if this film was just a tad bit more straightforward, just slightly.
Yeah.
But it is I think compared to The Handmaiden, it is relatively straightforward.
Yeah. So this is a big old twisty-turny murder mystery, essentially. So the story is
technical terms.
Slash romance.
Yeah. We'll get to that. Insomniac, obsessive Busan detective Jang Hae-jun, played by Park Hae-il, who was in Memories of Murder and The Host. So obviously a frequent collaborator of Bong Joon-ho. He becomes fascinated with a Chinese emigre suspected of murdering her husband. She's Song Seo-rae, played by Tang Wei. This suspect, while he's investigating her, she's also seems to be keeping tabs on him, and they both essentially embark on a quite ill-advised affair. So he's married, she's a widow. That they really should be keeping professional and avoiding like conflicts of interest, but no, they've fall in love with each other, and they're seeing each other throughout this, and she's kind of acting as like an unpaid therapist to him, go through his psychological issues while he's trying to work out exactly what she's been going through. She's had a tough time of it, and had to readjust several times in her life. She's terrified of being sent back to China if she's found guilty of murder, because she'll get the death penalty back there. Basically, her husband says he was a mountaineer, so he climbed up this mountain, very experienced mountaineer, and then suddenly seems to have fallen off the top of it. Which is very unlike a guy who's so experienced as he was. And he keeps first, detective, straight away suspects foul play, and think about could she be connected to it. But then she's also a carer. She's a home care nurse. She's seeing all these elderly people, and it seems like she's got an alibi because she was seeing one of her, one of the old people she looks after. On the time when the death happened. And again, they keep peeling back these layers and adding these little details throughout, and it really keeps on toes in terms of kind of exactly, can she be guilty? Was she guilty? If she was guilty, will she kill again? Can he get past if she was guilty, is he so head over heels in love with her that that doesn't matter to him anymore? There's always kind of moral and ethical kind of implications have been thrown about, and go on.
Sam, you know what they say about killing? It's a lot like smoking. The first one's the hard one.
Yeah, and
apparently
he's trying to give up smoking.
Yeah, apparently it's exactly the same, because I've just literally looked through all of his filmography, because I just went off on this one, live research. Quick guess, how many Oscar nominations do you think the entirety of Park Chan-wook's filmography has received?
Like 1, 2?
I'll say 1.
0.
What?
Not a single nomination.
Not even like any of the technical categories.
I mean,
nope.
That isn't terribly shocking. I mean, there's a reason that Bong, I know he should have been in like whatever the foreign film category is, but
I mean both. I believe Handmaiden, Decision to Leave, and No Other Choice were all submitted by South Korea to the short.
Handmaiden wasn't. That was my point. They took me off on one.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Decision to Leave and No Other Choice were both submitted, but they just didn't make the final list. I don't think.
Parasite is a landmark for like a reason, and I think, Kieran, you've really illuminated the importance of Parasite with that one notification.
But you'd have thought, if you'd have gone to everyone and say Park Chan-wook, how many nominations? You'd have gone at least one somewhere for something.
Yeah.
No, none.
Yeah.
In any category.
Yeah. So this is probably his least graphic film, apart from I'm a Cyborg. I think most of that, when it does occur, kind of happens just off screen, or kind of is always seen fleetingly. You see the aftermath of it, and the kind of obviously there's great sexual element to this as well. But again, it's not like it's not kind of done like the Handmaiden is. It's not graphic in that way. I'd say it's kind of it's probably another quite essential film by his standards. I think you really do get the chemistry between them, and kind of really believe they kind of they fall that quickly for each other, and there's a very kind of physical and emotional element to all that. What I find the most interesting aspects for me is obviously there's different perspectives and different events from different, with as new information comes to light, you tread back over, and you see the same events again. You kind of recontextualize what you've already been told. What I find most interesting about this is probably, since Oldboy, it's probably his film that is most reliant on different forms of technology as like a key kind of plot element. So you have like the language barrier with several characters, So she's from China originally. Her and husband were native Chinese speakers who obviously learned Korean when they moved over to Korea, and they keep that kind of holding her up. I mean, obviously to us, to an untrained ear, you kind of think, well, she sounds like just speaking Korean, but her phrasing, though, particular phrasing, which they do pick out in subtitles, is unusual. I think he says that you're very formal, or you're very precise with your wording. Basically, I wouldn't have used that word. That's interesting. I could basically say, I can tell, this isn't your first language, but...
she always introduces herself saying that my Korean is not very good, which I didn't expect that to be like ironic or something.
Yeah,
but
she said my Korean is not the most precise, or something along those lines. Yeah.
Well, throughout the film, she's using her phone to translate.
Exactly. Yeah. So using translation software, and you're using voice notes, and I do think detective films in this day and age are a lot harder to do, because technology in theory can provide a lot of shortcuts to these kind of the ways to keep move the film along, and to kind of get to the answer a bit quicker. But I think he used it in quite interesting ways in this. I mean, the old lady providing that key bit of evidence that she's again, she's got a phone on her, and she just keeps playing her favourite song again and again. Hey Siri, play whatever the song is. But then the idea that she couldn't have gone up the mountain to kill her husband that day because she was caring for the old lady then. But then the old lady's got dementia, so she doesn't really know what day she comes in. It's like she sees her and presumes, it must be that day of the week then, but that's not the case. But also the twist later on that Soray has taken the old lady's phone, place of her to go up the mountain, because he's digging through the phone later on. It's like this housebound old lady climbed 150 flights of stairs, or the equivalent in height. But
they have the exact same phone, which...
Yes. Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah.
Look, Hitchcock said that he allowed one coincidence in his film, and everything else had to stem from an original kind of incident. I think this is the one coincidence he's allowed.
I think he does go back to the Hitchcock well quite often in his filmography, but I think this is possibly one of his most Hitchcock films, I think, in terms of...
apparently one of the two films that kind of inspired him when he was younger, one's some Korean movie from like the 80s, and one of them is Vertigo. Big Hitchcock fan.
Okay, so I've got this. So, in a 2023 interview with Deadline, Park Chan-wook spoke about how the film took indirect inspiration from Vertigo. So he said, previously said that I wasn't conscious of the movie Vertigo when I was making decision to leave, But I did also mention that it did have some subconscious influences on making of the film. When I say influences, I don't necessarily mean the similarities between the plot or the characters. What I meant is the daydream-like quality of the film, and it was this influence, this subconscious influence, that particularly came in part 2 of the film, and it really inspired me to make it a dreamlike world where you feel lost and you don't know which way to go and everything is left unclear. And yeah, it is that almost like a fever dream, almost, isn't it? It's like you see, the main character's kind of almost been driven mad by these just things that don't quite fit, and him not wanting to believe that she could be the culprit, and then when he realizes, okay, yeah, she did kill her husband, and then all right, but then then they part ways, and then they reconnect later on, and so that she's done it again. She will kill again.
I will kill again.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but there is the point where they're talking about, whether or not she did this for him. And I'm like, look, just be with the guy. You don't need to come up with elaborate plots to murder your... Because she didn't even know him the first time.
Yeah, I mean, I do like they leave it quite ambiguous, quite up to interpretation about exactly at what point she decides to do these things and why. Really, it's just she's like a puzzle box of characters to kind of solve, which he's trying to do, and you as the audience are trying to do, but neither of you ever really manage it. I like that she's kind of kept like a bit of an enigma, really. I mean, one of the reasons I brought up the language barrier thing is that's almost I don't know whether this was, I'm sure that all that stuff was in the script before, but it's kind of interesting that Tang Wei, she's a Chinese actress who didn't speak Korean prior to being cast in the film, and so she had to learn some Korean for the role. But interestingly, her and Park didn't share a language to communicate on set, so they were talking through an interpreter, and that kind of, I think, again, kind of feeds into the wider themes of and kind of what happens in the plot. And obviously it feeds into kind of translation and kind of misunderstanding, and I suppose withholding information as well to an extent, because there's certain things that they'll say Korean that she's Korean but she won't understand. Then when she lapses into Japanese, and that they won't understand, and vice versa. I think by the end she's almost possibly putting it on a bit real. I think she probably speaks better Korean than she's making out. I think she plays on it a little bit, for her own ends, which is kind of interesting as well.
Very Lifeboat, I will say.
Yeah, good. Definitely another connection there. I mean, I was astounded that this didn't make it to Oscar nominations, really.
I think it got the BAFTA.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Sorry,
it competed for the Palme d'Or at Cannes, so arguably more important.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
Yeah,
at the BAFTAs it got
Oscars. So go on.
Yeah. At the BAFTAs, it got nominated for Best Director, Best Film Not in the English Language, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Editing. At the Independent Film Awards, British Independent Film Awards, got nominated for Best Independent Film.
So it's nominated for the Palme d'Or, won Best Director at Cannes, so he did get Best Director at Cannes, which is...
Oh yeah, they love him at Cannes.
Yeah. Yeah, because he got...
We all know that to nominate things at Cannes, the people there actually have to watch the films.
Yeah, because he got something for Handmaiden, I think, as well, for at Cannes, I believe.
Yeah.
It was obviously very well received. A fair amount of love elsewhere. No surprise at all that at the Korean Film Producers Association Awards, it's got... hang on a sec. Okay, so Korean Association of Film Critics and the Korean Film Producers, so they're kind of lumped in together. It basically won everything it got nominated for. So, Best Actress, Cinematography, Director, Music, Picture, Screenplay, Film. So got all the big prizes basically in Korea. No surprise there at all.
What a surprise! Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I said I do think it's a fascinating film, and it's again very visually interesting, as well as the performances and the scripts and everything. It's visually interesting as well. It's again, the Hitchcock thing. There's a lot of voyeurism kind of and listening in as well kind of feeds into a lot of this. But the way kind of interiors are kind of filmed and how characters always feel quite isolated in the frame. In these spaces. The use of environments as well, so it's set and filmed in around Busan, a coastal area. So it's very very much it's different. It's like film something in Seoul, or kind of that. Busan's like a major metropolitan area, but it's coastal as well. So it's like
you get a train there.
Yeah, and to have this idea that you got the mountains and the sea, in the same. Yeah, I'm not right into that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the mountains and the sea in the same frame, and both are kind of key kind of settings for the different chapters of this story.
I just remembered where he says, like, I'm a sea person.
Yes.
And his wife says, you were born in the heart of Seoul or whatever.
Yeah.
And then connecting that with the ending. God, that hurts me even more. The ending of this is just the worst in the sense that it makes me sad.
Yeah, because their first meeting here, where they have their little police interview, and then they get sushi, and they're just talking about themselves, and she talks about the difference between was it mountains and water, mountains and rivers, or something. One. Yeah. So what I can't really, are you wise if you like mountains, and are you kind of spiritually free if you like water or something along those lines? But as you say, established that he's a city guy, but he basically lies, right? Just tries to make a connection straight away. I've always preferred the sea, and then obviously it's how she eventually, decides to go out by the end of it. She goes back to the sea, reclaims her essentially.
Yeah.
Well, in like a really brutal way, because she digs like a super deep hole, and then just lets it wash over her.
Just drowns herself. Yeah. There's no way of getting out of that.
The other character I feel for in this movie is the wife, because the police detective whose name I don't remember, he has a wife, and they only see each other once a week, and she works at I don't know because of whose job that is, but she works at a nuclear power plant, and I understand how he gets to where he gets, but and he's always on stakeouts like during the week, isn't he? He's working out every night. They just don't interact at all. He can't sleep anyway.
Yeah,
never marry a cop.
Yeah. What's that line he says about? I don't. It's not that I can't sleep because I'm doing stakeouts. I do stakeouts because I can't sleep. Basically, it's like that's his job. Is his life. Just nothing else. And
he's very noir detective. in some ways.
This is the neo noir more than Oldboy.
Definitely. Yeah. And he's like constantly like being, so he's kind of becomes obsessed with like this relatively minor case. It seems like could have been an accident, but it could be foul play, but it's just one guy, and he's like captain, the precinct is like keeps pressuring to tell him to just get it done, find a suspect, and move on to something more important, because they've got like gang violence and like a serial killer, another kind of murder case, more high profile murder case in the city going on as well. I like how like midway through, basically he takes like a complete tangent. It doesn't really feed back into anything. Basically, it's like one of the guys they're questioning just runs out the police station, and becomes this big chase through the city for about 10 minutes. Until quite a violent end to that. But I just like how you just drop like the main part and just say, no, there's still cops, there's other stuff's going on, we're going to follow that for a little bit, and then right back to the main story. I really do appreciate this. I think it's complex in terms of the characters, the way they're portrayed, the way they're performed, and the themes it goes through. It kind of hits kind of some quite standard kind of beats for like a cop film or a detective film, but I don't think any of the characters are like standard issue. They've got quite a few interest layers, and you can't really predict from kind of moment to moment exactly where it's going or what people are trying to achieve. And I like that ambiguity is kind of kept throughout, and it's a genuinely kind of affecting kind of, if morally questionable, kind of romance at the heart of it. But like, a really compelling kind of mystery to solve, and it just keeps enough question marks at the end of it, to make you think, these kind of characters would, they'll have life outside of this story. I mean, God, he'll be struggling after this. He's in a bad place by the end of it. I mean, he doesn't start in a good place, but he goes through it in this, and he's basically howling into the void by the end of it. He's lost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the one of her final lines. I want to unsolve your case.
Yeah,
which is really interesting. It's like I want to give you something to continue to live for.
Ignorance is bliss, basically. If you didn't, again, a bit like Oldboy. If you didn't have this compromising information eating you up inside, everyone would be much happier.
Well, I almost think it's also like, again, the bad guy from Oldboy is like, what do I live for anymore? And I mean, he does essentially police cases to keep going, so by giving him something else, it continues his kind of need to keep looking and keep searching, and so by kind of hiding itself, it's like, we'll not end this neatly, we'll keep it open, almost so that you have something else to keep doing with your life in a way. This will go on, and in a weird way, I will haunt you in some way, and that is a good thing.
The final shots of him looking over the beach just hurt to watch. It's like they're not, when we think of what are the best shots in movies, it's going to be something that's very stylized, and it's just the emptiness and the context of it that makes it just incredible.
And that's one of the things I also think that makes it good. Again, these final shots, they're not kind of like, you imagine if it was somebody else, one of the big directors, you'd have massive shafts of sunlight streaming in, or it'd be all silhouetted or something like that, and it's not, it's normal.
But
and it's the context which makes it work.
I do think the environment and the lighting do kind of respond to what's going on in the story, though. It starts out, it's like standard kind of city, kind of nighttime cityscape. You'd expect in like a detective film. But then as it goes on, as things get darker and more morally murky and more, kind of more questions kind of than answers. You get they move out, further to the coast, him and his wife towards the end, and from then on, the film is always misty. Basically, it's like a coastal mist rolling in, but basically kind of fits like he's completely lost his way at that point. I mean, if you've kind of been really blunt about it, taking it literally, the visuals, I think that's essentially he cannot see kind of a clear path ahead anymore, and he's just going to be, as he walks through, he's going to become more and more lost in himself.
Sam, who made the decision to leave? What is the title referring to?
Well, she says it in dialogue at one point, doesn't she? I think she says, I made did you something like you helped me make my decision to leave him. I think
all credits.
Yeah. I mean, she leaves both the husbands technically, by killing them, and then she
there's also
definitely leaving,
and then she relocates, and and then she leaves him as well, her other non-legal husband.
Well, also the nuclear reactor wife, she also makes the decision to leave.
True,
which
everyone leaves. Yeah, everyone leaves at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And before we run too long, I think we should give our final comments on this one, and then make a decision to leave ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the start that it's not a good idea. You're almost screaming at him to not do what he's doing. It's like, no, everyone knows you're a cop, you're investigating. You can't fall in love with the suspects. It's just not right. But still you're compelled, and you want to see them together, and they're just so good together on the screen. I mean, so cute, when he brings her back to his, after showing him his murder wall, which was a questionable decision.
Making egg fried rice,
Yeah, making egg fried rice, and kind of takes him out but she kind of gives a look. She's like, "You think this is Chinese food?" It's like, he obviously hasn't lived up to her standards. But then he kind of looks hurt, and then she says, "Oh, but it's good though. The taste is good." But then you're compelled by the relationship throughout, and like his normal kind of hard-hitting, explicit imagery isn't necessary, really. I think works better for this film, that it's kind of more off-screen and more left to your imagination. But yeah, it's just emotional turns and kind of the twists that really make your stomach lurch, and got this kind of gallows humour throughout, again, kind of dark comedy, in like some quite distressing situations sometimes. And yeah, it's just a really well-told mystery film, I think, and I think it's, if not his best, then definitely among his best. Honestly, it's literally like a paper thin kind of separation between these three, I think.
Yeah.
I love them all for different reasons.
I would put this above Oldboy for myself, which is funny because I love One Battle After Another because it's Paul Thomas Anderson doing action. So maybe I just like seeing the difference from what they are typically known for, and that's what I'll go for.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm going to quote myself on this, but Decision to Leave is great. Go watch it. I don't know what else there is to say about it, really.
Yeah, it's true. All right, well, that's going to do it for our Park Chan-wook episode. We'll be back next week for something else. Tell the guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where today I have finally posted my belated review of Chloe Zhao's Hamnet, which I will say is absolutely emotionally devastating. It's not a cheery watch, but it's well worth your time. It's very good.
Yeah. So good, yeah. And hopefully you don't find me anywhere. If you do, I'm K-Judgment on the various places. What have I put up recently? Ooh, fancy. I know, we're testing new stuff out. Hopefully, have I got something up recently on the Substack? I might have done somewhere.
Not since the last thing.
Yeah, but also go check out our shorts on YouTube channels as well, because those seem to be doing fairly well. So give us likes and clicks and pretty much everywhere.
And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy. My recommend to read is going to be back at the Film Magazine. In 2020, Andy English wrote a review of Oldboy, so go read that while you still can at the Film Magazine. And of course, all my stuff is at the Substack and at Jacob Film Guy. Like I said, you can find us at Second Cut Pod or at Second Cut Film Pod if it isn't the first one. And you can email us at secondcutpod@gmail.com. So that is it. Thank you for listening, guys and gals and non-binary pals, and goodbye.
Adios.
Do you like being able to hear the music? Okay.